Here's a quick question for you. Does this intimidate you? So here's the point in time where I have a nice flashy intro. So imagine I have one. And now it's over. So I want to go over this. This is a bandsaw. Some people are very intimidated by bandsaws. Rightfully so. They're for cutting meat. Yeah, bones, meat, setting up your ribeye steaks or whatever. It's done on a bandsaw. They have a different blade, but the concept is still you cut meat. So that's pretty intimidating for a lot of people. But bandsaws are extremely useful too if you follow some proper safety procedures that I usually ignore, that I shouldn't. Okay, so here's the bandsaw in its absolute glory. It's an innocuous machine. It's got a couple of things to it. This is the work table, and that's the blade. Inside of this entire thing is the blade in a band circular shape, and it rotates around, and that's why it's called a bandsaw, because the blade is a band. So let's go over here and look at this. No, not the brand name. This is a window, and you can't see diddly in there because it's kind of dark. I can see. Because I have crappy lighting in my garage, you can't. So what is this window for? Seeing this. Yeah, there's the wheel. There's the bandsaw blade. So it travels completely around all the way over here. And this is where it does the cut. Here is the blade. That's a raker tooth or hook tooth blade, about 6 TPI, teeth per inch. And that is for rough cuts. It's also thin, so it could be used as scroll cuts. This has an adjustable gate so that I can cut large objects and small objects with relative ease. It also has not a zero clearance insert. I haven't done that yet. This is a small clearance insert, so things don't generally fall in there. And I've also hand scribed measurements on here, so I don't have to pull out the ruler every time I want a 1-inch dowel or something silly like that. So getting into the machine a little bit more, here's more of the work area. This is the resistance. So when you push something in here, that's what it hits. These are also guides. So when I'm moving side to side, that's what keeps the blade from getting out of control, and there is a second pair of that down below. All of these are adjustable. Here is the key with a bandsaw. This part right here needs to be in the center as it can get. And you can't see it right now, but that is pretty centered. Maybe you can see it. That's what that window is for, so you can see that. If it is not centered on your blade, you will never, ever, ever, ever get a straight cut. So that is setup number 1. Make sure that is centered. And of course, on the back, this is how you do it. This is my tensioner release. This is not on all devices. Sometimes it's just this knob, which this is the spring tensioner. That's a completely different setup. Because this is a spring tensioned bandsaw blade, all you do is release it just by pulling that handle, and it releases it. This is the wheel alignment. With the bandsaw on and spinning, this wheel makes this move along this wheel left and right. So you keep tweaking this knob until it's centered. Once it is centered, you are good. After that, you adjust this back wheel resistance. And then lastly, you adjust those. Now, they should be as far away from your blade as a dollar bill folded twice, or folded in on itself. So 2 dollar bills. Once that is done, that is all the movement you need. Now, with this centered, imagine this wheel like a literal wheel. It has a curved top on it. So if your blade is too far back or too far forward, this causes the straightness of the blade to start to wander like this. So when I come down here and I push a piece through, and the blade is in the back, that is going to artificially twist this blade in this direction. So when I push in this direction, it's already naturally twisted. So with my force, it's going to be twisted more. So your cuts are going to wander and they're going to start traveling this way and they're going to be a pain. And of course, if it's on the outside here, the exact opposite happens and it's going to push this way. So once you're aligned, and this is far enough back that when this spins, it does not touch, and these have the dollar bill folded on itself, distance between each side, you're good to go. All of these things should be adjustable on your machine, and if they're not, you probably have a really, really cheap machine. So that is what I looked for when I bought this one. And after I got this all adjusted, it looks like a charm. So, rule number 1 when cutting something on this piece, have this adjusted. This bed rocks and can sit at an angle. I never use that. No reason to. I always need 90-degree cuts. 90 degrees from this. Parallel. Or perpendicular. Yeah, perpendicular. And the second one is adjust this just enough so that you can see what's underneath it. Some people you'll see on YouTube videos, they'll have it up here all the time, always, and that allows a lot of flex in this blade. That's fine if your bandsaw cost $1,000. This didn't. This cost a lot less. Why? Because I'm cheap and I can't afford expensive tools. So, adjust this by bringing it down. Sometimes these are manual. Mine's on a knob. Lucky me. So right now it is touching. That's too far. And bring it up a little bit so that I can see it. And that's good enough. Allows room. I can see the cut, so if I draw a line, I'll be able to cut it. Number 2, when you push from both sides equally and try to apply as much force right here in the center as possible. Don't push this way. Same with the opposite. And try not to turn it unless you absolutely have to. Mine is a scroll blade, so I can actually make that cut right there, that curved cut. But it's going to be a rough cut no matter what you do, so you'll see those rivets in there, and that has to be cleaned up post-production. So don't expect this to be a finished cut. So once you have that done and you try to apply as much force this way as possible, you'll get as little burning as possible. You see that? This is burning. You can imagine I started over here and went this way. By the time I got here, I'm twisting on the blade so badly that it actually started to burn. That is because this blade is, again, a cheap blade. It's the one that came with it, so I'm still using that. I haven't upgraded the blade yet. And that's a different story. So those are the absolute basics of this, so let's go through a dry run. All right, there it is. Pretty simple. Now, you'll see on that piece of wood that it looks a little dark. Yes, it did burn because my blade is getting dull. That's bad. I need to replace that blade. It's old. It's the one that came with, and I've done plenty of cuts on there, and I'm probably going to use it until it snaps because these aren't finished pieces, and I don't care about that little bit of burning. It's not a huge issue for me right now, so I'm going to be a little frugal. You shouldn't do that. It's one of those things you shouldn't do. A sharp blade actually saves you in the long run. Because you notice I was going kind of slow on this piece of wood. That's because the blade is dull. And some people will push too hard. You push too hard, it could suddenly pop out, something could snap, and whoop, there goes your thumb in the blade. So that's why you want a sharp blade, so you don't put a lot of force on there. Do this one more time. And I want you to see me go slow. That was it. It was pretty simple, wasn't it? Going slow on the bandsaw, taking it easy. Don't try to push it too hard. The blade should do the work and everything should come out just fine. There's no need to be intimidated by this. There's a lot of safety features built into it already. And as long as you don't do something stupid, you'll be just fine. Stupid would be putting your fingers in the direct path of the blade. No joke. I have cut myself on a bandsaw. Was pretty shocking. So do be careful. If you ever decide to pick one of these up, just like any tool, any X-Acto blade, anything can hurt you. You use your head, you'll be just fine. And on a bandsaw blade, it's going to make labor so much easier for you that I highly recommend it. So do get one if you can afford one. I'll give a link to this one where I got it on Amazon. Came out a pretty good deal, and I've been very happy with it. And as you can see, very little effort, pretty straight cut. And that's all you care about in the bandsaw. Cuts foam too. So you EVA enthusiasts, just slides right in there. Oh, there's another tidbit. They're called scallop blades. Scallop blades meaning that they have these little crescent moon or scallop shaped grooves in them. You saw how on this one, they're kind of like pointing down teeth. Scallop blades do more slicing instead of tearing. Those raker hook tooth blades tear out a little sliver, and that's how you get sawdust. And they do that continuously, where a scallop blade doesn't do that. So a scallop blade, like a serrated knife, will actually cut foam and stay sharper longer, where foam does dull these. And yes, I've cut foam with this, and that's probably why it's dull. So there's your free tidbit for the day. And as far as bandsaw blade use, or bandsaw use in general, it's pretty straightforward. Take it easy, go slow, you'll be fine.